Welcome back to episode 62 of the Sleeper Sports Media Podcast. It's been a very long time, but I took a break. I'm now back and ready to rock and roll with a preview and review of the week of pro wrestling and the WNBA. That's a new one here. 3 years ago when I started this, you couldn't have told me that I would have made it to episode 62, which is my number. And I would be getting paid from Facebook as well as hitting the milestones on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter of all over reaching 1,000 and surpassing 1,000 subscribers and followers. But to get started, we're going to go over the results of Monday Night Raw from this Monday, May 20th, the go home episode of Raw before King and Queen of the Ring. Started things off with Sami Zayn, and then was interrupted by Chad Gable as we head into the triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. Gable, Sami Zayn, and Bronson Reed. This led into Chad Gable versus Sami Zayn in a non-title match. And it kind of shakes things up and goes into Saudi with it being unpredictable and what's going to happen. Gable once again was attacking the rest of Alpha Academy minus Otis. Well, he attacked all of them, and Otis was the only one that stuck by his side. We had Gable going after Maxine and Tozawa. Eventually, would throw them out during the match, and would also go on and slap Otis, and Otis took that and was able to then help Gable win. It was a decent match to start things off, and then after that, to much surprise, Braun Breaker came out and faced a jobber and absolutely just obliterated this kid. Just liquefied his insides, as London was saying on the NXT watch long the other night. Braun Breaker said that it was a joke. Basically said that it was a joke that he wasn't in the King of the Ring tournament, and it was a joke that he was even facing this jobber of Kale Dixon. The match ended. Braun won via referee stoppage. So that was that. That was the second match of the night. And then we had the Raw side semifinal match of the Queen of the Ring. Lyra Valkyria beat Io Sky. For a while, they showed a video package for Io. And I figured maybe she would go on to win. But it was pretty cool that Valkyria did win and has been getting some props from Becky Lynch, and the dynamic of those two being shown backstage and whatnot. Kind of what Valkyria has been taken under Becky's wing. I think it's going to be a good finals matchup for both King and Queen of the Ring. And then we went on to the World Tag Team Championship match, Judgment Day. JD McDonough and Finn Balor against The Miz and R-Truth, and they had a backstage segment of Truth telling Miz that they were going to have help from his friend Andre the Giant, and that was, you can't beat Truth in his innocence and the comedy that he brings to the innocence of R-Truth is just a national. He's a national treasure and should be protected at all costs. After Awesome Truth retains, we go into Becky Lynch promo and a preview of the Women's World Championship matchup at King and Queen of the Ring, Liv Morgan and Becky. I'm excited for this one, and I won't be upset with the result. Liv could win it and start the continuation of her heel run, and as well as Becky can figure out contract wise, because there was a Twitter space that I was in the other day that Becky Lynch is not re-signed yet. She has a couple weeks left on her deal. Same with Natalia. They both have not re-signed, so they're gonna. I'm sure they will eventually re-sign, but given that Becky might wait to re-sign and just take the time off that she was going to take before Rhea got hurt and then came back, stepped in, that whole thing. I'll be happy either way. If Liv wins, that's great. If Becky wins, I'll be okay with it. But I know that everyone else will be complaining as they do about everything um, that goes on in the WWE side of the world of pro wrestling. Then we had a fatal four way number one contenders match for the women's tag team championships. Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark defeated Damage Control, Katana Chance, and Caden Carter, Maxine Dupree, and Ivy Nile. It was a good match. I mean, this tag team could be one of the best if they keep it going and don't just build it up and up and up and then just let it implode and have the turn, much like Shayna did with Ronda. So they have a future. No, they're now the number one contenders for the women's tag team championships. No word on if that's going to be added to the upcoming King and Queen of the Ring show. I guess we'll find out whenever we get to the preview of that. Then we get into the main event of Monday Night Raw. Of course, main event Jey Uso and Gunther in the King of the Ring Raw semifinal match. Raw part of the bracket, the semifinal match. I This one was tough for me to call on who I thought was going to win. I figured that winning King of the Ring would be an accolade for Jay to kind of cap off his singles run. Since I know they're probably not going to give him a world title or a singles title in general. Um, on the other side of it, I do see why Gunther was probably going to win. Given that he's only lost once since being on the main roster, so him going through this tournament the entire way and winning it, or even making it to the finals would be a way to continue his dominance of the main roster after since joining and getting up to the main roster. Gunther would win via tap out and goes on to the finals. So that I don't know if that's I don't know where Jey Uso goes from here. Got to be the most he's got to be the most over with the crowd on the Raw side of things. And what do they do? What are they doing with him? Um, so that wraps it up for Monday night. We go on to NXT on Tuesday nights. Since I started watching NXT, I gotta say it's been fun to start to learn some of the new up and coming talent that WWE has. For a while, I couldn't watch it because of just the cheesy, corny gimmicks of Chase U and whatever else they were throwing at us. But the opening match was great. Fallon Henley defeats Thea Hale to advance to in the women's NXT North American Championship qualifier to advance to the ladder match at Battleground. I'm gonna say I thought Thea Hale would win. That was my pick. But Fallon Henley, great, both are great in the ring, and I'm excited for that ladder match. Then we have then we get into the other qualifying match of Brindley Reese and Jada Parker, which that is later down the card. We have the NXT Tag Team Championship, Nathan Frazier and Axiom against the D'Angelo family. We have the NXT Tag Team Championship, Nathan Frazier and Axiom against the D'Angelo family. Not a fan of any of these four. The D'Angelo family I know is good. I'm sure there's a great story behind it and everything. But I just don't care about these four. Um, It was interesting though that after the match was over, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson appeared and attacked the champions, and they clearly sent a message that they want the NXT tag titles that they've never held before. Um, and I believe that match was added to the Battleground card. So that was a fun conversation that led into London, myself, and Uncle Todd talking about tag teams and when they work, when they're thrown together versus when they come up as a tag team, and just what tag team wrestling used to be, could be, what it will be, and why it always ends with teams that are thrown together either turning on each other or just randomly not being a tag team anymore. Um, after this match, we got Wesley versus Joe Coffey and Josh Briggs. This was at this point I was trying to see and look at other stuff on Twitter as it was breaking, and trying to live post onto Facebook and Twitter and see what was popping up on just on Twitter in general. And this was a triple threat number one contenders match for the NXT North American Championship, and it was it was interesting. Joe Coffey replaced the injured Ivar in the match, and it was interesting because somehow both Wesley and Joe Coffey won, um, because they both pinned Josh Briggs. So now we're gonna have another triple threat match for the NXT Championship, NXT North American Championship. I'm guessing at Battleground. Um, I guess it can be exciting. I the Whoever is holding the North American Championship right now, I haven't been watching long enough to see really what he does and looks like in the ring. So I'm excited to continue to watch and see the different types of talent that we have down in NXT, and excited for Battleground. Then we get into Jada Parker and Brinley Reese for another qualifier for the women's North American Championship ladder match that will be at Battleground. Jada Parker did win, definitely my pick right away. Um, she's got to be she's got to be my favorite now that Thea Hale is not going to the ladder match. It was a great match. Nothing nothing bad to say about the NXT women's division really at all. Then we have Dante Chen defeated Lexus King. I was confused on this one, um, because I figured every time that I watch NXT and see Lexus King, he's being built and portrayed up to be a star, to be the next big thing of the talent in NXT, and eventually his main roster run and debut. Um, so I don't know why he would have just taken a loss like that on NXT, but I guess we will see what this turns into. Then we have Natalia and Carmen Petrovich defeating Shayna Baszler and Lola Vice. This was the main event, and then we had, of course, as I said before, uh, Shayna Baszler was pulling double. It is or was pulling double duty, being on Raw, being on NXT, and sadly being in tag teams on both brands. Or at least she was in a tag team on NXT. And she's now going to feud with Lola Vice, after being her mentor, being her tag team partner. We're gonna get I'm guessing we're gonna get an NXT Underground match at Battleground, which is fun because it's in the UFC Apex. So we're gonna see the MMA mix in with pro wrestling, and I mean you gotta love that. but Lola Vice did turn on Shayna Baszler and set up that match. Again, I'm guessing for Battleground. I haven't looked at the full card yet to see if it was or wasn't added to the card at Battleground in a couple of weeks. That was NXT. It was a solid show. Both Raw and NXT were great this week. So hoping SmackDown tonight. I believe it's on right now or was on earlier since they're doing it live from over in Saudi Arabia before King and Queen of the Ring tomorrow. That was 2/3 of WWE this week. We jump over to AEW and the go home show before Double or Nothing. So we had AEW Dynamite live on TBS from the Mechanics Bank Arena in Bakersfield. We started things off with Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay versus Roderick Strong and Mike Bennett. Versus Mike Bennett and Matt Tack. All right. Trying to read this from the AEW website, and they have it set up a little weird. But we have this was a fine match, fine opening. Of course, they would I think I mean it was what it was. Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay would lose. I know that Mitch was thrilled with this one. After that match right there, we go into the Young Bucks backstage with their security team, telling them not to let Darby Allin in to the arena since he is filling in for Eddie Kingston in the Anarchy in the Arena match, which of course we do know now, thanks to Earl, that Eddie Kingston did have knee surgery, and he is recovering now. So Darby Allin will be put into his place for Team AEW versus the Elite. That should be a fun match. I can't believe Darby Allin is jumping back into the ring so soon after breaking his foot and getting hit by a bus and putting off climbing Mount Everest and then jumping right back into what I'm sure is going to be just absolute chaos. Come Sunday night, I'm excited and ready for it. After that, we have the Unified World Trios champions, the Bang Bang Gang, Switchblade, Jay White, and the Guns. They were doing a promo, and then of course we had Pac interrupt them. And as Earl said it, he was going to reform the Death Triangle, and that's exactly what happened. So my guess is we will get that match on Sunday at Double or Nothing. Could be added. I see it either being added to the pre-show or actually being on the main card. I'm sure if it is on 0 hour, people are going to say that Jay White, once again, as they always say, is buried because he's always on 0 hour and never on the actual show. Then we go into the FTW 3-way eliminator match. Again, they always call them the eliminator matches, just like whenever you know who was in WWE. We had I can't remember what they used to call them. Whenever you call them anything but just a number one contenders match, it just seems cheesy and corny to me. So we had Hook versus Shibata versus Brian Keith. I got bored at this point of the show. Found myself scrolling on Twitter more than actually watching at this point. I know Jericho was on commentary. I got to say, with the last month or so that since I've taken my break, I haven't watched AEW in 3 weeks. Just nothing is screaming, "Hey, come watch this!" and nothing excites me about this show. I've been watching more WNBA than I have AEW, and it's sad to say that, but the WNBA is more exciting to me right now than either WWE or AEW, simply because Roman's gone from WWE, and I know I'll get hate from that, as I take all the crap from it on the other night, as me and Martina were acknowledging our tribal chief and saying that it's it very much shows that he's missed on WWE TV. Um, but I guess Hook won, and I don't know. I guess they'll do the Hook and Shibata apparently somehow once again they both won, similar to what they did in NXT, where they had two winners from cheesy and corny. Is all I gotta say. So I'm sure that that's now going to be a three-way match or a triple threat, however you want to say it, for the FTW Championship at Double or Nothing. My guess again, it'll be on the on 0 Hour versus on the main card. Then we get the Don Callis families, Alpha Takeshita versus Matt Sydal. Again, I don't have any interest in anything really that AEW has going on besides the Young Bucks and the Elite and that stuff. And I'm just waiting and counting down until MJF's return, which there's some news surfacing on MJF and his contract situation, along with his injury and surgery on his shoulder, whatnot. But we had Takeshita versus Matt Sydal. Again, we talked a little bit about this, that the match on Double or Nothing with Takeshita and John Moxley is basically a number one contenders match for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship instead of just being a championship match. It's making my brain hurt just talking about it again, like we did the other night, like we did Wednesday for Dynamite. It doesn't make any sense. Or why this wasn't a number one contenders match, and they announced the match weeks ago, but then had him wrestle the week on the go home show before Double or Nothing. You could have easily just made this an eliminator match, or layman's terms, a number one contenders match. But it is what it is. So it's still going to be exciting to watch and see how Double or Nothing shakes out. AEW always delivers on the pay-per-views. So I'm excited to be on the watch long on the Hardcore Sports Network with Earl and everybody else. Then we have Swerve Strickland took on Nick Wayne in the main event of Dynamite. How's that already the main event? There was at some point Malachi Black was in the ring and had maybe this isn't the main event. That shows how much I'm not paying attention to Dynamite and AEW and whatnot. Well, yeah, Dynamite, because that's the only one I watch. I won't watch Collision. But we have Swerve Strickland against Nick Wayne to get excited for Christian and Swerve at Double or Nothing. Swerve is fantastic. He won the title, deserves it all. Whatever. It's nothing. AEW is just not fun and entertaining without MJF. I'm sorry. The build for that is what it is. The build for Double or Nothing has been very lackluster. Eventually they got out to they left ringside. Christian Cage ran and Swerve chased after him, and then Prince Nana was in a car and they had cheesy and corny. Then we go on to Kyle O'Reilly versus Malachi Black. This was somewhat entertaining and somewhat of a surprise, and had some shock added some shock to the episode. Malachi Black won. He was in the ring, and then of course was was drenched with a red blood like liquid, which of course led to Adam Copeland appearing on the screen, laughing, and said, "Malachi, be careful what you wish for. See you soon." So that match being a double or nothing, I think that might be the one that I'm most excited for. Which is sad. I mean, I guess the next segment that we saw, which was a little weird, but I mean that's just what Timeless Tony Storm's gimmick is. So we had AEW Women's World Champion Timeless Tony Storm and Mariah May versus Soraya and Harley Cameron, whoever that is, with Zach Knight, Soraya's brother. The tag match was fine. This gimmick of Timeless Tony Storm just being an absolute whack job is starting to get old for me. And I've been a fan of it since I'd say since the beginning, and it's now starting to get stale and be the same thing every single week. Um, During this match, we did get an announcement of Tony Khan sending Excalibur a text message and announcing that next week on Dynamite, we're going to get the Casino Gauntlet match, and the winner will challenge for the AEW World Championship at Forbidden Door. So that's going to be fun, I guess. I mean, I hope the winner of that is someone exciting and that can bring excitement to it. But we'll see how that goes and what goes on with that. Back to the match, we have Tony Storm and Harley. Tony Storm hit Harley with the headbutt. Then we had planting Harley with Sky High. Soraya broke up the pin attempt. Tony hit a Storm Zero on Cameron and then got the pin. Then we had Serena Deeb jump into the ring, attack Tony Storm. And of course, that is going to build up to their match at Double or Nothing. It was interesting though because Deeb got Storm into a submission and sat over top of her in a chair, and Tony was tapping. So this is drawing the sense of, are they now turning Tony Storm into a babyface and Serena Deeb being the heel? It was just a very confusing outcome of that whole thing. So that's gonna be a fun match on Sunday night. Then we have after that we go backstage where we get the Bang Bang Gang, and they of course are going to cut a promo on Pac and the Death Triangle, saying that they want a match for the titles at Double or Nothing. That the Lucha Bros will have to beat the Guns in a match on Collision, which I don't see how. I This shows that I'm really losing touch with AEW because I mean I guess I never really watched. I didn't watch much whenever the Death Triangle was a thing before. So the Lucha Bros will have to beat the Guns on Collision before and if they do that, then they get the title match at Double or Nothing. So once again, the champions are going to have to lose to the contenders to essentially then have a match with them, and that was what I was getting at earlier whenever I said about whatever WWE used to call those matches where they would have a challenger face the champion to then in a non-title match to then face them for the title. So the champion lost and then would have another match against the same person, and then the champion could win or could lose again and finally drop the title. Essentially having a number one contenders match against the champion that you're trying to have a match against for the title. It's beyond stupid. Then we get into the main event of Dynamite. We have Bryan Danielson versus Satnam Singh. I don't even care to go over this. I didn't watch any of it. I was scrolling on Twitter up until listening to Earl call the match, of course, because part of it is I'm not even remotely interested in what AEW is doing. But it's fun to be on the watch longs on the network and with Earl and now Martina and what Sarah whenever she is on. Um, but it ended. That match ended, and then we saw the Bucks either came out or did whatever they did. Jack Perry blindsided Danielson from behind, and then Okada was there, and then we see this was the big shock factor of a car pulling up to the arena, Darby Allin getting out with a flamethrower, and Tony Khan being the one to drive him up, and then coming out, setting up for anarchy in the arena, and getting us all excited for that one. So that was Dynamite. Um, it was a good go home show. I said it was a good pace in our final grade of the night for during the watch long whatnot. Um, there definitely was a lot to the show. Like I said, haven't been watching for the last 3 weeks. I don't know how the last 3 weeks have been. But that was Dynamite. And we are moving into a preview of SmackDown tonight. We have Randy Orton and Tama Tonga in the SmackDown semifinals of the King of the Ring tournament in the bracket. Tama Tonga, Randy Orton. Um, Either one of these guys, I think, facing Gunther is gonna be something. Um, I don't know. I could see it going either way. So I'm not going to give a prediction on it. Sure, eventually I'll probably end up seeing spoilers through Ringside or on Twitter to before we even get to SmackDown tonight, whenever they show it on Fox over here in the States. Tama Tonga versus Randy Orton, King of the Ring semifinals. Winner goes on to the King of the Ring finals tomorrow. And as Triple H announced yesterday, the winner of King and Queen of the Ring will get a world championship match on their respective brands, as he pointed out, not, if they're choosing to throw the draft and the brand split right out the window. But they're going to get a championship match, world championship match on their respective brands at SummerSlam. So then the SummerSlam card is already shaping out, as well as more announcements that they made yesterday. SummerSlam 2026 will be in Minneapolis, Minnesota at US Bank Stadium, and it'll be 2 nights for the first time ever. So that's exciting to hear now, 2 years in advance, to get everyone excited. My guess they're doing this because Minneapolis didn't get the WrestleMania bid. WrestleMania now being in Vegas, so which opens the door of saying, okay, where now we have no idea where or what the favorite would be for WrestleMania next year, or the following year, in 26. So we're getting Vegas in 25, and we don't know where, no idea where now, in 26. So maybe that's the time to take it over to London, as so many people are pushing to bring WrestleMania to London. So that would be interesting, and watching WrestleMania in the middle of the day versus in prime time over here in the States. But I guess it would be what it would be. Moving on in the preview of SmackDown, we have Bianca Belair versus Nia Jax in the Queen of the Ring semifinals on the SmackDown side. Given that Bianca is a tag team champion right now, I don't see her winning and then getting a singles title shot. I think that would that would put Jade into her shadow versus having them on the same level, and they can just run the tag division right now. Although I guess from between now and to SummerSlam, anything can happen. But I mean, Nia Jax, I do see how she's been on a tear. I guess I'm just not a fan of her personally. So it's just kind of like if they really do put her into the finals and have her win, I would be bored of it. Same thing like whenever she got the title shot against Rhea at Elimination Chamber. I don't care. I easily think Tiffany Stratton could have been in this matchup. Bianca versus Tiffany would have been fantastic. But yeah, Tiffany and Bianca would have been fantastic for the finals. And then it could have been Tiffany going over with from Bianca, and of course, then my pick would immediately be Tiffany. And then her getting a title shot against Bailey at SummerSlam. Um, Speaking of Bailey, we have Bailey versus Chelsea Green. Um, I don't mind this at all. Chelsea Green has been fantastic since her return. Her and the constant back and forth with the GMs is is so good. So I don't mind it. Uh, Also, I think on Monday, it was either Monday or last Friday. Yeah, Monday. Sonya Deville returned to Monday Night Raw with the intent of talking and I guess helping out, managing maybe Shayna and Zoe. Seen approaching them and talking to them, and then Shayna turning it down and having walking away, and then later again in the back back of the camera view, we had Sonya talking to them yet again. So that is a preview on SmackDown tonight. Now, more on the other wrestling news, we had MJF from Fightful Select. We had the news breaking of MJF had re-signed a new deal with AEW back in after Forbidden Door 22, but we don't know how much time is left on it, given that they made it seem like his contract was actually up at the end of last year, to kind of play into what he was doing with his character work, whatnot, and so I don't know which side of it is real. But his return could be as soon as Forbidden Door, if not sooner, which I'm excited for. As soon as MJF is back, I'm all the way back and fully invested in AEW. I haven't been on a watch long um, when MJF was advertised for Dynamite. I just realized that because I started doing the Dynamite watch alongs weekly in January, and he hasn't been on since World's End. So his return will be a much needed spark for AEW, I think. Um, and then other than that, I don't think there was any there wasn't too much other news that has broke within the last couple of days. Um, Besides the MJF and whatnot. Speculation is that Roman is done filming the movie that he's doing currently, and we could potentially see him. Um, we could potentially see Roman return at Money in the Bank and win Money in the Bank, which would be which is more than likely the only accolade that he has left to do in WWE besides win King of the Ring. Um, I wouldn't hate that because then it would set up Cody and Roman 2 at SummerSlam, um, or whenever he decides to cash in. Um, it would be interesting. Now, before I get into predicting the pay per views this weekend in wrestling, we got some WNBA review of the first 2 weeks, or almost full first 2 weeks. It's been fun to watch something new and to get excited about something new. And the first, like I said, first 2 weeks of the season, it started off with Caitlin Clark and her debut. Sadly, her and the Indiana Fever are yet to get a win. I've been just watching them. I've been watching as many games as I possibly can to kind of get a feel for all the teams and where, since it is still a small league with just 12 teams. 13 and 14 are on the way. Obviously, with the announcement yesterday of Toronto, or Wednesday of Toronto, yesterday or Wednesday, one of the two, whatever of those 2 days. Toronto is getting a team. We also are getting a team in Golden State. We knew that. That is coming next year, and then the following year, Toronto. So it's been a fun time to get excited about something new, and it's a fun time to be a basketball fan for Caitlin Clark in this entire draft class. So far, there's a lot of concern and just ridiculous hate towards Caitlin and towards, I think, the hype that the WNBA is getting, and it's stupid. It is very stupid to give so much hate and not praise the eyes that the league is now getting. They're setting records in viewership. They're getting charter flights now. I mean, everything you could want is happening for the WNBA. We just looking at the standings right now, we have one team that's still undefeated. That is Connecticut. As the Liberty, the New York Liberty, they lost last night to Chicago. And looking at the East, we have Connecticut 4-0, New York 4-1, Chicago 2-1, Atlanta 2-1, Washington 0-5, and Indianapolis at 0-5. The Indiana Fever back-to-back years with the number one overall pick. Currently, they are on a run of. They will now have 5 games in 7 days today, 6 games in 8 days tomorrow, and then I don't think they play again until Tuesday or Wednesday, or maybe they have off longer. I haven't looked that far ahead at the schedule yet, but it's been fun to watch Indiana, specifically because that's Caitlin Clark's team, which is the only reason I started watching and paying attention to, just seeing it on Twitter from different friends that are big fans of the Iowa team that made the deep run in March Madness the last 2 years, and Indiana, Vegas, with Kate Martin going to Vegas. I've been watching them a lot. Also, they winning back-to-back titles, going for that three-peat. They started out very, very hot. I mean, it's crazy to look at two teams, Washington and Indiana, that have played 5 games, given that they're 0-5. Then Seattle also 5 games, 2 and 3. But then all the other teams have only played 3 or 4. New York has also played 5. Connecticut's played 4. But I mean, right now it's crazy because Caitlin Clark is at 85 points, so has another 20-point game tonight, and she's already at 100 points in her rookie year. Which my shout out to Sailor. We were talking about this and her potentially hitting 1,000 points in her rookie year, so she could be on track for that. She leads the league right now in 3-pointers made this year at 14, which is which is crazy. So it's a fun time to be a fan of the W. And reviewing this week's action, we had some great games. I mean, from the Indiana game, their last game where they were so close in winning, um, and just couldn't get it done. They're getting there, and they will get a win. They have a game tonight against the Sparks in LA. Cameron Brink, the number 2 overall pick, against Caitlin Clark, the number 1 overall pick. Very excited. Been seeing a lot of Cam Brink off of the court in different podcasts that she's done. Big time fan of her. So yeah, we had, starting from Monday, we had the Connecticut rematch of opening night, Connecticut Sun, Indiana Fever. The Sun won 88-84. Then we had Seattle and New York. Also Monday night, New York took that 74-63. Tuesday, we had Atlanta beat Dallas. Phoenix beat Vegas, which was a shocker to me. They beat them by 10. That was a very good game. Came down to the very end, until Phoenix went on a run to end up winning by 10. Also, then LA beat Washington on Tuesday night, 70-68. That was another good game. And then Wednesday, Seattle beat Indiana 85-83. Another fantastic game, which came down to the very end. And then last night, literally the very, very end of the game, Connecticut held on to beat Minnesota 83-82. And then, of course, we had Chicago beat New York 90-81. And Phoenix beating Washington 83-80. And now tonight we have Indiana going to LA. Big game tonight. I think it's going to be tough to see Caitlin go into playing Vegas tomorrow night at 0-6. And if it shakes out being that they go in 0-6 and then Caitlin plays against her, former teammate, best friend, whatever, Kate Martin and Meg, who was also played at Iowa. They go in there 0-6 and end up beating the back-to-back champs. That would be pretty crazy. Saturday, the game's on Saturday in New York and Minnesota at 1:00. We have Connecticut and Chicago at 8, Indiana and Vegas at 9, Washington and Seattle at 9, Dallas and Phoenix at 10. So it looks like the Indiana game is on NBA TV and the League Pass. Washington and Seattle is also on the League Pass. Dallas and Phoenix is on the League Pass. And then Connecticut and Chicago is on CBS. New York and Minnesota is also on CBS. Sunday, we then have Minnesota and Atlanta, Dallas and LA. And then the Fever's next game is on Tuesday, when they have a rematch. They're back home against the Sparks. That is a little bit of news for the WNBA. We're going to go on to previewing and predicting AEW Double or Nothing, and then King and Queen of the Ring, and that's going to wrap up episode 62. Hopefully either a watch long tomorrow for the Fever game, since I won't be doing King and Queen of the Ring on the network. They have a full panel, so I will be joining on Sunday for Double or Nothing. The match order could vary. This is from Wikipedia, but we have Roderick Strong versus Will Ospreay for the AEW International Championship. I could see this going either way. I think if Will Ospreay would win, that could stir the pot with Don Callis and that whole thing in and that dynamic of what we got going on there. But I got Roderick Strong to retain. We got Timeless Tony Storm and Serena Deeb for the AEW Women's World Championship. As I said, going over Dynamite, it was just weird that that they had Tony Storm tap and show vulnerability in that whole sense, and Serena Deeb with the tactics that she used. Now I agreed, I think, with Earl and Sarah the last time I gave predictions for the last AEW pay-per-view, saying that, thinking that Tony was going to lose, and she didn't. So, I mean, at this point, I don't see why there's any reason to have Tony lose here. She could really hold the title until All In, and I would be fine with that. I'm getting tired of the gimmick, but her as champion, I mean, it's working. So far two for two on champion, or two matches in a row. Champions retain as the third, same as the third one, in a barbed wire steel cage match for the AEW TNT Championship. Adam Copeland versus Malachi Black. I have Copeland retaining. Then we have, like I said, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship Eliminator match. If Takeshita wins, he will receive a future IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match. Again, I don't understand why they don't just do the title match here and there. Here on Sunday, maybe they're going to push that to have that match at Double or Nothing or not Double or Nothing. That's obviously this Sunday at Forbidden Door with the cross promotion, and I mean that's kind of an easy way out to do it there. But then we have singles match: Trent Beretta versus Orange Cassidy. Mitch isn't going to like this one, but I got Orange Cassidy to win this. Then we have Chris Jericho versus Hook versus Shibata in a three-way FTW rules match for the FTW Championship. I got Jericho retaining. I don't know why Shibata is involved in this one. It's crazy how many just talent, how much talent on the AEW, on and in the AEW rosters. I don't know, and I don't care about, as tough as that is to say. But Jericho retaining. Wow, I don't think there's no, well, except one. Next we have a trios match for the Unified AEW World Trios Championship. The Bang Bang Gang versus Death Triangle. I got the Bang Bang Gang retaining. And then, of course, the only title that I see changing hands, AEW TBS Championship. Willow Nightingale versus Mercedes Moné. People are going to complain about this one, as we've been seeing people complain about on Twitter and Facebook, everything. Mercedes waiting to make her in-ring debut for AEW months after debuting at Big Business. I don't like it either, but I understand it. It shows that the way they are running, regardless if she's hurt or not 100% or not, as Earl says on the watch longs, just to have a 5-minute match. And she did take a bump during the contract signing. She went through the table, whatever. But I mean, it doesn't make sense for her to debut in March and not have her first match until May. And she's been on a couple episodes of Dynamite. And that's been that. So but I do see them giving the title to her in her debut match for in-ring debut for AEW. Then we have also, this is being promoted as a triple main event. These final 3 matches. up until they add, the 4 0 hour matches. But this is the Anarchy in the Arena match, the Elite, Okada, Jack Perry, and the Young Bucks versus Team AEW, Bryan Danielson, Darby Allin, and FTR. That's kind of crazy that Team AEW is 3 former WWE guys, but that's neither here nor there. And then we have AEW World Championship match, Swerve Strickland versus Christian Cage. Swerve to win and retain. Also, I think the Elite pull it out. I think the heels win this one. And those are my predictions for Double or Nothing, which is Sunday. I will be part of the watch along on the Hardcore Sports Network. So if you haven't gone over there already, or seen my stuff on there, go give that a look. Go subscribe to them. Everyone over there, give them some love. Subscribe to the channels. So many different channels, different sports coverage, everything you could want over there at the Hardcore Sports Network. So to finish up this episode, predictions of King and Queen of the Ring. So we have just 5 matches so far. I don't see any more being added, but we have King of the Ring tournament finals, which we'll get a world championship for whoever the winners brand at SummerSlam. Gunther on the Raw side versus the SmackDown winner, which will be determined tonight. Then we have Queen of the Ring finals for Women's World Championship match of the winners brand at SummerSlam. Lyra Valkyria on the Raw side versus the SmackDown winner, which will be determined tonight. We have a singles match for the Women's World Championship, Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan. Oh man, I kind of got to go with Liv. I think she's peaking right now as a heel without a championship. What she's doing backstage and being seen with Dom and having his bandana, doing this and that, kind of stepping into the Judgment Day and kind of building for another matchup versus Rhea. I think if Liv Liv wins the title and then holds it until Rhea comes back, and then you get Rhea and Liv, which also plays into what Liv is doing with the Judgment Day, with Dom and all that stuff. So Liv over Becky, also hopefully Lyra over Nia Jax, and then Gunther. I think Gunther over Randy Orton. Then we have a triple threat match for the WWE Intercontinental Championship: Sami Zayn, Chad Gable, and Bronson Reed. I could see Gable winning. I would be okay with Gable winning. I don't know why Bronson Reed has been thrown back into the Intercontinental Championship picture. But final prediction, it would be cool to see Gable win, but I got Sami Zayn retaining. And then we have Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul in a match for just the WWE Championship. Again, that's what it's being listed as on Wikipedia. I don't know if it's not even saying champion versus champion anymore, which is what it had said before. So I don't know if that's what WWE has it as. Checking real quick. So WWE does have it listed as a champion versus champion match, but it never. I don't think it was ever for both titles. And given that at the contract signing last week on SmackDown, Logan specifically said and made a point whenever signing the contract and giving Cody his own contract to sign, that it was just for the WWE Championship, which makes sense. Of course, everyone I seen all over Twitter last Friday oh, Cody would look when Cody held both titles. Oh, this looks so cool, blah blah blah. But they're the same people that were crying whenever Roman Reigns was holding 2 titles. But once again, that's neither here nor there. Got Cody to retain. And I've been seeing a lot of like, oh, they should do this is when we should see Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Six appear, which I think would be really cool to do it on Bray's um, birthday weekend, given that his birthday was yesterday. I think it would be so cool. But that's my King and Queen of the Ring predictions, and that's going to wrap up episode 62 of the Sleeper Sports Media Podcast. Again, I will be possibly doing a watch along tonight for the Fever game, since I am not going to be on SmackDown this week. That is going to be Earl and Denise, I believe. So make sure you watch the SmackDown watch along with Earl and Denise on either Earl's channel or the Hardcore Sports Network on the Facebook, on the YouTube, on the Twitter, any one of them. But that's going to do it for episode 62. I will see you when I see you. Thanks for watching, supporting, subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, all that good stuff. I will see you when I see you. Peace.